Oh, do I have to? No, I don't want to. I look daft. Oh, fine, okay. Hello, I'm Henry VIII. All right, I'll give it a bit more. Hello, I'm Steven Vinacour. I wrote Ted and the Time Travelling Toilet, and book 2 is about the Tudors, which is why I'm dressed like this. But I've been asked to read a couple of chapters from the brand new book, which is out the 25th of February, which is ages away. So I've got a watch on. That's not right, is it? That's not very authentic. I'll take that off because it ruins the illusion of me actually being Henry VIII. Anyway, so I haven't even got a copy myself of the book, so I'm having to read like this, but this is the actual words from the book. So, well, I hope you like this. Okay, chapter 1, Tudor Tangle. The class on stage had just finished their assembly, telling the rest of the school how much they'd learned about butterflies. Well, come to think of it, it might have been about Florence Nightingale, or even about things you find in ponds. Oh, I wasn't really listening, to be honest, and a quick glance around the hall showed me that neither was anyone else, including 2 teachers who had fallen asleep and were both snoring loudly. The class waited expectantly for a clap, or at least some kind of acknowledgement, but the entire hall was silent until one of the boys started picking his nose with great enthusiasm. And when I say picking, he was digging like a pneumatic drill digs up a road. Giggling turned to laughter as he continued to dig further and further, deeper and deeper. I thought at one point his finger was going to come wiggling out of his ear. Slowly but surely, all the other students noticed, and all the attention had turned from the other children on stage to the busy boy with a digit up his nostril. The giggling got louder and louder until eventually our head teacher, Mr. Munford, stepped in. Well, what a fascinating assembly. We all enjoyed it and learned a lot about the pyramids of Egypt. Oh, it was about the pyramids of Egypt. I literally had no idea. The head teacher continued. You've all worked very hard and I think the whole school has learned something new. I didn't, but then I'm more picky, shouted Martin Harris, the school bully. Everyone laughed. Some because it was a funny thing to say given recent events, and some because they didn't want Martin to punch them on the nose when he saw them next. Yes, thank you, Martin. You've earned yourself a detention for shouting out, snapped Mr. Munford. Martin looked annoyed. Now, before you go back to class, I have a couple of announcements to make. Blah, blah, blah. He didn't actually say blah, 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 although I wish he did. That would have been brilliant. But the things he said are not worth telling you. Most of them were not worth telling me, and I go to that school. But then he surprised us all by finishing the assembly with a very interesting bit of information. And that's why this year, for the first time in our school history, there will be a prom. There will be live music. Everyone cheered. There will be a photo booth. Everyone cheered again. And there will be excellent food provided by our school dinner ladies. Everyone booed. That's enough. That's very rude of you all. Our dinner ladies work very hard to make sure you don't go hungry, said Mr. Mumford. Well, it looks like it hasn't worked for him, shouted Martin Harris, pointing to the nose-picking boy, who was just removing his nose-picking finger from his mouth. Ew. Detention all this week, Martin, hollered Mr. Munford. Now all of you, go back to your classrooms quietly. We filed out of the hall because we filed out of the hall making as much noise as we could because we're kids and that's what we do. We all piled back into our classroom and waited for our teacher to follow. Someone called my name and I was just about to answer when... Hold it! Pause the story. Nobody move. Everyone stay exactly where you are. Brace yourselves. Something incredible is about to happen. Ready? Okay, here it is. Chloe, the best looking girl in the school, was walking towards me. Chloe and I had been getting on really well lately. I had to pause the story because, well, if Chloe needs to speak to me, then it's bound to be really important. Or maybe she just wants to hang out with me and chill out. You know, hold on. Here she is now. Deep breath. Here we go. "Hey," she says. "Hey," I replied. And she walked off. Good. Well, that went well. Nice chat, friendly, upbeat. I admit it could have been a little more, well, just a little more would have been better. But, I see it as a positive step in the right direction. So where was I before Chloe and I hung out? Who's laughing? Are you laughing? We spoke for a few moments. We hung out. So technically, I'm correct. Who's laughing now, eh? Oh, it's still you. When you finish laughing at me and are prepared to be sensible and accept that Chloe clearly likes me and that we're destined to be together, then you can come and join me at the beginning of the next chapter. Until then, you stay right here and think about your attitude. Chapter 2. Back in the classroom, Miss Makeshift waited until we were settled and quiet and then told us a bit more about the prom. This will be a very special night. You'll have to dress up smartly in suits and dresses. There'll be a DJ, dancing, a buffet meal, and a prize for the prom king and queen. It is traditional for students to invite each other to be their prom date, she giggled. The whole class erupted into laughter and banter, the girls teasing each other about who would invite who, and the boys claiming they weren't going if they had to ask a girl to go with them. The usual mature classroom conversations. Eventually, Miss Makeshift quietened everyone down. I looked over at the love of my life, Chloe Onions. Yes, okay, if you haven't read the previous story, her surname is Onions, as in onions. And like the vegetable, she makes me cry because she's so beautiful. But unlike the vegetable, she isn't round and smelly. Actually, that sounded really weird. I'd like that to be removed from this book, and for all readers to forget that I said anything about Chloe being round and smelly. Where was I? Oh yes, she is beautiful, and one day we'll get married. But before that, I've got a prom to think about, and to make sure everything goes perfectly, I think I'm going to need a plan. The plan. Number 1, create a plan. Done. See, the plan above, labelled the plan. Number 2, travel back in time to a place where I can learn how to dance and be the perfect prom date. Requires some research. 3, invite Chloe to be my prom date. 4, hire a suit. Could wear Dad's old suit, but don't want to look like I'm wearing Dad's old suit. And the problem with Dad's old suit is that it's Dad's old suit and therefore will definitely look like Dad's old suit. Finally, be crowned prom king alongside Chloe, who will be prom queen. Finally, marry Chloe. Just so you know, this is for the future. I'm still at school, so marriage is definitely not on the cards just yet, but it should always be part of the plan. It's always part of every plan. I was just finishing off my school lunch, a sandwich as usual. I didn't want a sandwich, but this is what happened. Me. What's for lunch, dinner lady? Bolognese. Me. Ooh, sounds nice. Is it nice? Dinner lady. Dunno, not tried it. The other dinner lady, Sandra, had it. Me. Ooh, I'll ask her then. Where is she? Dinner lady. She went home sick. Food poisoning. Me. I'll have a sandwich. I took another bite and looked up to see my best friend Ollie, who was carrying a tray of food. He loves school dinners. Today, he opted for orange stuff with green bits for main course and green stuff with orange bits for dessert. Ollie came rushing straight over to me, carefully balancing his tray and chewing the end of a pencil, which looked slightly tastier than the school lunch he'd chosen. Ollie doesn't rush very often, nor does he like to keep fit. He gets tired running a bath. Good joke, right? High five? Don't leave me hanging. Why are you leaving me hanging? Fine, suit yourselves. Ollie was trying to tell me something while attempting to catch his breath. All I heard was this. There's some pant, cough, one pant. What are you saying? I asked, trying to understand him. Something about some pants and they made you cough? They sound like an awful pair of pants. Perhaps they're too tight. I suggest you stop wearing them immediately, I said, helpfully, and went back to picking at my soggy sandwich. Eventually he caught his breath, stood up straight and calmed down enough to deliver some shocking news. If you're a nervous person, then I'd look away now. Although if you look away, you aren't going to be able to read the shocking news, and it's kind of key to the story. So I suggest putting your hand over your eyes and just peeking through your fingers. Anyway, here goes. I've just overheard Stuart Hance is also going to ask Chloe to the prom. What? I said, not believing. What I just heard? Stuart Hants, the Stuart Hants, aka Stu Hants, aka Stu Hants Poo Pants. He pooed his pants. Just to let you know, I don't think Stu Hants did actually poo his pants. It's more a rhyming thing than factual, but I was a desperate man, so there is no way that Chloe would choose Stu Hants Poo Pants over me. Is there? I asked, slightly concerned of the answer I'd get back. If she goes with him, then she might fall in love and they might be together forever and get married, and she would be known as Chloe Poo Pants, which is even worse than onions, which isn't bad. Please don't tell her I said that. Well, he can dance properly, and so can Chloe. If Chloe wants to be voted the prom queen, then she'll have to dance with her partner, and you won't stand a chance dancing with her. What are you talking about? I can dance. I'm an awesome dancer, I argued, feeling a little hurt that my best friend should even question my dancing abilities. Being able to join a conga line is not dancing, Ted, said Ollie as he smirked and fake congaed out of the school canteen. Anyone can conga, I shouted, to prove the point. I too started a conga towards the door, except as I kicked one leg out, I stubbed my toe on a chair and fell to the floor, rolling in agony. The dinner lady walked over and looked down at me. You didn't have the bolognese, did you? She asked, prodding me with the top tip of her shoe. No, I groaned. Oh, good. Phew. I thought you'd eaten it and then died. I didn't fancy explaining that to the headmaster. Not again, anyway. She smiled to herself and walked off, whistling a tune. Wait, what do you mean again? But she disappeared into the kitchen. Later on that day, after school finished, Ollie came back to my house to hang out. We were both sitting quietly on my bedroom floor, deep in thought. Finally, Ollie spoke. I've been thinking about your dancing. You need to watch Rudolph Nureyev. Rudolph who now? I said. Doesn't he help fly Santa Claus around? I hardly think the shiny red-nosed magic reindeer can help me bust out some moves. Ollie, seriously, there's a reason that none of the other reindeers let him join in the reindeer games, and it wasn't because he was king of the dance floor. Ollie sighed. He's a Russian ballet dancer. Ollie, reindeers can't do ballet. They have 4 legs and hooves for a start. Rudolph Nureyev is a famous ballet dancer. He was one of the best dancers in the world. He was one of them who made ballet acceptable and an important role for men. How on earth do you know that? I asked. I have a photographic memory. I remember everything, he replied. No, you don't, I argued. Yes, I do. All right, then how long have you had a photographic memory? I asked. He thought, scratching his head. He looked at me sheepishly. And by that, I mean that he looked a bit embarrassed, and not that he was suddenly covered in wool, standing in a field eating grass and saying, bah. I thought as much. Anyway, when I hit the dance floor on prom night, performing 2 grand pliés, followed by a jeté, and then ending with a pirouette, is not going to win me the title of prom king. I need to turn up armed with a wicked waltz and a terrific tango to show I'm sophisticated, followed by a superb street dance to show how cool I am. Or you could just shuffle from side to side and occasionally click your fingers. That's what I'm going to do. Ollie smiled triumphantly whilst demonstrating his ridiculously basic dance routine. Ollie's advice was useless. I had to learn how to dance fast, and by that I mean I had to learn quickly, not dance fast, unless it's a really fast dance, in which case I should learn to dance fast. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There was only one thing for it. I needed to go to the toilet. Only my toilet can help me now, is a sentence that no one has ever said before, ever. In case you haven't yet realised, I'm able to travel back in time via my toilet. I know when it comes to superhero abilities, it's a little questionable, but I can, and so I do. And that's all you need to know right now. The big question is, where do I travel back to, and what dance do I learn? That's what you want me to do. I haven't even mentioned the Tudors or Henry VIII. So why am I dressed like this? It's ridiculous. Anyway, 25th of February. Book's out. Enjoy.